All right, go.
I've been recording, man. Intro.
Go.
Intro.
Oh my God, so aggressive. Welcome back. Happy Monday for all of you Monday lovers and haters out there. We had the lovely chance of talking to some folks, some artistic folks of the art world over with the Rockwell Museum, and a lovely muralist as well, if I have
Queens,
that accurately.
That's correct.
How did that go, guys? Because I was not part of the conversation.
Well, we talked to Amy Ruza from the Rockwell Museum.
Yes.
And Alice Mizrachi from Queens, a muralist from Queens. Great personality. Really excited to see how the mural is going to turn out. They're doing it later this year.
We got a fun business card from her. She's a very fun business card.
Yeah.
It's very artistic, very artsy. Stands out.
Yeah, well, she's an artist, so.
Well, that makes sense.
Well, I'm an artist too, but not quite as cool.
Your business
Well, you
card.
said it. No,
Yeah.
no, it's
She definitely is way cooler than me.
she's pretty darn cool.
Your business card
Yeah.
looks like my business card.
Correct.
It just says your name on
It's
it.
exactly like it, except for... Yeah, we actually got to talk about the art at the Rockwell Museum, but then public art, which the murals, they're, this is the 16th one, I guess. So we're going to talk a little bit
Wow,
about
16,
that.
huh?
Yeah, that's
It's crazy.
more than
15. That's what that is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, how about we let the
done
folks?
good.
How about we let the folks listen to the episode and
Enjoy.
enjoy.
Welcome to What the FLX, your playful peek behind the curtain of things that are happening in the Finger Lakes region. And today we're here with Amy Ruza from the Rockwell Museum and Alice Mizrachi
Got it.
from Nyack, right? You said, but you're originally from Queens?
Yeah, correct.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate you both being here to talk with us this morning.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah. Thanks for
Thanks
having
for
us.
having us, yeah.
Absolutely. Well, why don't we start out, Amy, we'll talk a little bit about the Rockwell Museum. Some people might not know exactly what the Rockwell Museum is, so maybe you could just briefly allude to that, and then we'll get around to the murals and all the other fun stuff.
The Rockwell Museum, we're an American art museum. We're a Smithsonian affiliate. We represent a diverse selection of artists that have identity connected to the United States. And we're actively pursuing and thinking about how we enhance our collections. And our mission is really about provoking curiosity, engagement, and really sparking reflection about art and the American experience. And so our mural program, the Alley Arts Project, is really about sort of expanding the arts experience beyond the museum walls to make art accessible to everyone.
That's awesome.
Cool.
She nailed it.
She knows what she's talking about.
You done good. Nice.
You've done good, kid.
Thank you.
And you're the youth and family programs coordinator, right? So
Actually,
or
no,
not?
I have a new title. I'm the
I knew
youth.
that. I was just setting you up.
That's all good. It's very recent, but I'm now the youth and visitor engagement educator.
Oh,
so
wow.
it's very exciting because now I'm still continuing to work with youth and teens and artists for very exciting programs like Alice Mizrachi for the Alley Art Project, but also helping with our exhibitions and interpretation.
That's cool.
Well, so Alice, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? I know you're a visual artist in multiple forms, I guess. Could you talk a little bit about your art and some of the themes? Because I thought it was pretty interesting when I looked up some of the stuff on you, some of the ideas that you have.
Well, thanks for looking me up.
Absolutely.
Do a little research before the conversation. Thank you. So I was born and raised in Queens. I came up in a time where New York City was a thriving hub of arts and culture. As we all know, we all romanticize the 80s, but the 80s in New York was sort of tough, and my parents were very strict and really kind of protected me. And at the same time, I had all of this culture kind of thriving and popping off at that time period when I was just a little girl. And I have a brother and sister. My brother is 8 years older. My sister's 12 years older. And so because of that, I was exposed to all of this culture, not only from my own kind of emergence in this world, but also because they were out and about and doing their thing. So they would bring it home and I would be exposed. And so my family is a very DIY household. Everything we had, we either made or fixed. So if something broke that we bought, we had to learn how it worked and fixed it. And so at a young age, I was being reared to be an artist without even knowing that was a thing. And that paired with my brother and sister being kind of ushered into this new world of culture, I think I absorbed all of that and kind of became this person who I am today. And I think early on it was kind of like, oh, you know, she'll just absorb all of these things and be her own doctor or lawyer or whatever they hoped I was going to be. And then when I went to high school, I realized that there was this whole amazing subculture that not only that I saw that was coming out of my house that was strange, but a subculture that was thriving, that was based off of hip hop and graffiti and breakdancing that my parents didn't even know how to explain. And so I became enamored by it and thought it was super cool, and, you know, was outside watching my brother spin on the cardboard with his friends and taking tags on the cardboard. And I'd be like, oh, I want to do that. I want to be cool, you know? And so early on, I was kind of exposed to all of this, and it's really informed my practice today as an arts educator, but then also as a mural artist and as a studio artist. My love for teaching, I think, came from my high school. My art teacher was amazing and really pushed me to get past this idea of expectations and what other people wanted from me. Pushed me to apply for art school. I did it, got in, went to Parsons School of Design, sort of ran away from the hip hop thing. I was like, okay, I can't be around these derelicts anymore. I need to go and like get a life. But then I realized,
I say that every day, by the way. Just
And then you come here every day.
no, that's when I say it.
it's fun to think you're going to get away from being a derelict and then realize when I moved to the city, it was just like, the pool of derelicts grew even larger. Right. It was like more. So, you know, but that did give me an opportunity to really focus on my, you know, training me as an artist, as a traditional kind of learning about color theory and design and formal art education. You know, I went into illustration thinking, okay, I'm never going to do anything around hip hop that doesn't pay or whatever. And then in my last year of school, I ran into some old friends and they were painting on freight trains. And I was like, ooh, what is this? And then I started painting with spray paint, you know, practicing on freight trains, and I absolutely loved it. And I realized that making art in public spaces was something that my family can relate to because we were immigrants. And, you know, my parents didn't feel comfortable going to a museum. It wasn't for them, you know? And so for me, it was making art in public spaces, making art in the streets was something that my family could come and see and be okay with being comfortable. But then also all of my friends and all of the people I grew up with felt more comfortable in those spaces. Now, of course, I straddle kind of multiple disciplines and spaces, but yeah, that's kind of my story in a long-winded format.
Nice. Yeah. No, that was great. That was great.
So.
You mentioned the 80s. That was my era. I'll just say those cardboard, that helps out a lot because otherwise the brush burns are pretty bad.
Yeah, exactly.
Just saying.
Did you do windmills?
I won't say that. I won't say that.
Do you have any like video of that or anything?
No.
Or pictures or?
Not, so moving on.
Yeah.
Amy.
I'd love to see that.
Yeah, you mentioned, so, you know, the Rockwell Museum is this amazing small museum that's a Smithsonian affiliate, and it has this world-class art in it. But you talked about making art accessible beyond the walls, and I think that's which ties in with what Alice just said. So can you speak to that and
Sure.
how the Alley Art Project got started and, you know, why you're passionate about it?
Absolutely, yes. And it does very much connect to what Alice was sharing about how art is accessible in public spaces, because you're just walking down the street or in a community space. We have 2 indoor murals now, one in our dome and the new one that's coming out that's also going to be at Corning Community College. But it's about how people happen upon these public art pieces, and it might disrupt their daily routines. It impacts them. It can be thought of as like arts as healing or arts as sharing diverse perspectives. And we're also thinking about who's represented on the walls, whose voices are represented. That's why it's really critical for the Alley Art Project. At the core of its mission, it's an education program. So we're working with youth, with teens. It's a collaboration with the High School Learning Center, which is an alternative school in our local Corning Painted Post School District, and then we're bringing in guest artists annually. Alice this year, we worked with Sarah Rutherford last year. We've worked with an artist named Betsy Casania. She's based out of Philly. She's also Puerto Rican. So it's really a really wonderful experience to work with diverse artists and expose students to different artists' processes, way of working. And then a very core part of the Alley Art Project is that we use inspiration for every mural from our collection. So that's sort of how we tie it to our collections, because we are a collecting institution, but we're also about community, and that's really at the heart of what we do is we're really about creating inclusive programming and really collaboration with the community businesses, community organizations, and artists. And the program, it was actually started by the former Director of Education, Gigi Alvarez. So we're in the 16th year right now. Wow. So that was actually before I started working at the Rockwell. I've only been there 10 years, a full decade, which is exciting.
That's cool. Congratulations.
Thank you. So I came into the fifth mural, and when I started, I was assisting Gigi with the mural program. So I would assist with all the classes and the painting. And then when she retired, I sort of stepped into managing that program just a few years ago. Nice. So again, it's about that accessibility to, spark people, and think about how murals contribute to the cultural landscape versus thinking about diversity of perspectives, diversity of representation, diversity of storytelling, because it is all about storytelling.
Yeah,
right?
That's what I was going to say. Because that's what our task is here, is to be storytellers. And You're taking a medium, a beautiful visual medium, and using that to tell stories, and that's so compelling.
Exactly. Yeah. And we don't want to just be the storytellers at the Rockwell. We want to include the artists and the students. So we ask the students to look at art, reflect on what they see, and we often there's a mural design course where students participate with a teaching artist, this year with Alice, and the students think about symbols connected to the art and how can symbols represent their diverse identities, and then how does that all come together, all the different components. When you have a 10 or so students making art in a class, every student has their own style. You get the students that paint the black canvas. You always have a few of those, and you have just a very diverse works of art. And then working with the artists, I give the task to, hey, let's make all these different artworks into one cohesive design that also connects to our annual theme.
That's awesome.
So that was a big task, right?
Yeah.
Totally.
And it's I've always admired about the Alley Art Project the fact that you're giving some students an opportunity. It's beyond an art class, the typical art class, where you're actually giving them an opportunity to interpret, right, at their own way, a work of art, but then to express themselves, right? So you're giving them another language in which they can express themselves and connect with the community and give back to the community. So to actually be part of it on a completely different level, I think that's just amazing. And
I'll say it's a holistic program, because we really touch on many aspects. So it's that healing piece where we're sharing something with the community, because arts heals, but also the process of creating. It can be very healing to paint a mural and go through that process, that expressive different medium.
Yeah. I love the fact that whether it's young students or whether you work with community members, sometimes I work with seniors as well, that, there's a whole different engagement process when you're working with something that is larger than you and that you see on your commute or that your family could come and see while they're coming home from the grocery store. I think that level of making art and participating in becoming sort of an architect of your landscape is a whole different experience with art making process. For me, I find that it's so rewarding to be able to see, something that you create not just by yourself. It doesn't become about you and your ego, but it's something that you leave for others to enjoy as well. And you could be like, you take a stake in your neighborhood when you do that. It's a different experience. And for me, I've always been inspired by, how we can socially come together and create healthier communities, healthier neighborhoods, healthier establishments, just thinking about how we can step out of our everyday and really create spaces that are for the people, by the people.
Right.
Exactly. And I'll just add on, too, about stakeholdership in the community. We've painted 15 murals to date, and 0 have been vandalized. So those students have this ownership. They have pride. It's about civic engagement. And they almost are like the protectors of the murals in our community. So we're very proud of that aspect of the program.
Yeah, and you should be. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
And so that brings up, we have a new mural coming, right?
We
Can
do.
we talk about that? I believe Cosmic Connections.
It is
the name of it.
Cosmic Connections. Yeah, I'll turn it over to Alice to share because I know you're
What inspired it and where we're going to be placing it up at the college.
It's super cool. We did a site visit last time I was here, and it's amazing. You know, every organization or institution or school or community group or nonprofit that I work with, everyone has their own method. Everyone's got their own style of how they do things. And me coming in as sort of an artist, I'm not part, I don't live here, but I'm coming in as sort of an outsider to blend in and to facilitate. It's always interesting to see how every program is run differently. And I've worked with a lot of programs. I've been doing this for quite some time, and it's always so wonderful when things are organized and on point, because then it's less work for me, and then I can come in and kind of be my best self, do what I do, right, with the support and help. And so, you know, when I came in last time, everything was super organized. It was like, okay, we're going on a site visit. We're going to meet the students. We're going to, you know, and it just makes it so that I can really show up more as without being kind of scattered or thinking about all the things I need to do. And so thank you, Amy, for making sure everything is super
Thanks, Amy.
organized.
of course.
But when I came in, you know, everyone was super excited to meet me and to see the vibe. Like, okay, what is she going to bring to the table, you know? And we got to talk to some of the administrators and some of the people who help run CCC, and spoke to the students, of course, and that was our meet and greet. And, you know, I got an overall vibe of the space of the city, of the town, and, you know, it's such a sort of a quaint, small, cute town, and you know, I think the most important thing is being able to listen as an arts educator and a facilitator of mural programs. You know, listen to what everyone is sharing with you, because there's multiple ways in which I can come in and do what I want that has no connection to the community, right? Which is sort of a little egotistic and just self-centered. And then I could come in and really listen to what, you know, the participants want to see, what the community wants to see, and sort of take all of that and put it in this bowl and then sort of mash it up and then try to make something from it. And so, you know, we met, we had our 10 sessions, our 10 virtual class sessions. And, you know, a few weeks ago, we sat down and started to design the mural. And from all of those sessions, I was able to collect data and sort of use an approach based off of one of my mentors, Paulo Freire, who wrote the book Pedagogy of the Oppressed. And what he did was he collected data from community and then kind of like reshaped that based off of what he collected, and then kind of threw it back at them, and then they would throw it back to him. And it was kind of this ping pong thing. And it's a similar approach where I built the design and then we shared it with all of the stakeholders, and then they pinged it back to me, and then I revised it based off of their information. Pinged it back to them, and then they were like, hey, well, what about this and this and this? Pinged it back to me. And then, so it was like back and forth maybe 3 or 4 times.
Collaborative process.
Yeah, collaboration. And I take such joy in doing that, because then I know that at the end of the process, no one is going to be upset, right? Like, we're going to be all content and happy. And, you know, so that process, you know, it takes a specific kind of artist that's been an educator and that's worked within community, develops projects, to understand that, not get upset. Like, your design is fine. It's not about you, you know? And so Amy was so graceful when she came to me. She's like, are you okay with making the... I'm like, of course, this is what I'm here for, you know? But
it's part of the process.
Of course. Every artist is different. Some artists are a little more sensitive. Because I've been doing this for so long, I understand the importance of making sure that it hits all of the needs and the goals of the community. One thing I'm, and this will be the last thing I say, is I'm super, I really want to make sure that whatever I leave, that people feel good about it. that I'm not just coming in and throwing what I want, that it's really relevant to the site that it's being placed in.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, and I'll say collaboration is something we highly value too. So we value the collaboration with Corning Community College, with our local school district, with the artists, and also I had shared previously that every mural also is inspired by artwork in our collection. So Cosmic Connections mural is inspired by artist Romeo Bearden, whose work we have. We have a couple of his pieces in our collection. One of them we looked at is called The Conversation, and it's a sort of this layered scene. There are some figures in it, so the students did figurative work. There's also a landscape scene as well. So we worked with students about layering elements. They did collage work and thinking about what's in the foreground, what's in the midground, what's in the background, and how does this scene tell a story? How does this reflect you in your community? Because artist Romeo Bearden, he did artwork that reflects him and his community and things that were important to his life and cultural heritage as an African-American artist. So that's sort of the collection connection. I know Alice has a lot of experience and knows a lot about Romeo Bearden, so that was an easy connection, knowing that we had Bearden in our collection, and Alice was like, I know a lot about Romeo Bearden, and then also connecting it to our annual theme. This year's theme is creating connections. So we're all about creating all sorts of connections with the cosmos, with the students, with our community.
Thank you for answering that question, because I feel like I veered off and went to
That's good.
It's all good.
Yeah.
That's why we're both
Thank
here.
you.
Good. Tag team working well.
Yeah.
Right on. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, you alluded to you used the word conversation, which is a back and forth. Usually, well, sometimes it isn't, right? Sometimes you hear one person's talking and the other person's like, do, 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 do. And you mentioned listening, right? And that those are both parts of a productive conversation usually. But the interesting part too, I think, is that you it's not like you're just making a painting that you want to paint and then hopefully put in a gallery someplace. You're creating a painting or creating something that you want to create, but it's also taking into all those other things into context, which is very important, and it's a great lesson for the students to learn as well.
Exactly.
It's not just about the one thing you want to focus on, but it's also, and it gives them an opportunity to have a communication with the past, right? You're bringing a conversation that started with Bearden, and now you're having the conversation, you're still communicating with the artist in a different way, and then allowing the public to have part of that conversation.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think the Rockwell did a really good job in crafting a program where they can use their collection as a way to educate the students. A lot of times museum educators, or I won't say a lot of times, but often you see in institutions where they're like, okay, we're going to share this with the community, we're going to share this with students, and it's sort of like this glazed over way that they do it. And I think in this institution, particularly, I've seen that they're really immersed in learning about the artist. Like, all of these students will walk away knowing who Romeo Bearden is. They will know about certain aspects of what he did in his life and what his technique was in the process of collage making, because we had 10 sessions where we really kind of nailed it. Yeah. And for me, it's super important. A little backstory, my mentor of over 28 years now is Russell Goings, and he was very good friends with Romeo Bearden, and he was also one of his main collectors. He made his fortune in the stock market as one of the first African-American men to sit on the stock market. And then 28 years ago, I started teaching at a school in Harlem, and he was the patron of the school without me knowing anything about him. He sort of sat me down and made me cry a few times, by being so hard on me, and then took me under his wing. And he's vowed to share all of the information that Bearden shared with him to me, so that then I can go and teach it in schools. And so the Rockwell Museum is a great opportunity for me to kind of continue that, right? It's like Amy said, they already had a Bearden in their collection. So it was easy for me to just be like, that's what I'm going to focus on. I know so much about that. How can I continue to nurture that conversation? And so to include that as a art history lesson, but then also to now make it contemporary in a space where we're doing public art, is a whole new iteration of, I'm sure Bearden would be so elated right now, to see that students from the Finger Lakes are actually learning about his work and then taking it and making a whole new work of public art. And he was huge. He was a public servant himself, and he did so much work around civil rights. And so I think he would be so excited about this.
I love that. Yeah, it is all about having the students and the artists make the art relevant. So it's about what is relevant today and in today's society. And I'll just touch on that. It is a very holistic program and integrates many aspects and elements about self-expression and that dialogue, that conversation piece that we were talking about. We don't always focus on the product, which is a beautiful mural. That is always a great reveal moment, but it is also very process focused as well. So we do, during those 10 classes with Alice, it's very much conversation. We have this dialogue with the students, making sure their voices are heard and sort of integrating their ideas. So we really work hard to create safe and safer spaces so the students feel comfortable and they feel like in the beginning there's a lot of hesitancy, right? Sure. And then towards the end, that last class, we had this community project this year. We did our version of a people wall inspired by the people wall in Corning's Town Hall, where we did silhouettes inspired by their individual pieces. And students were just very active and very fast and just really energetic to go in and make a mark on all the students' portrait, which is exciting. And as you had shared too before about the collaborative process, that there's sort of a give and take where not one person has oversight or say in every piece of a mural. And so the students, part of that class is they make their own individual work of art, and that is theirs to keep. And that actually goes on view. We have a student exhibition right now of their individual pieces, and so they get to keep that at the end. And then an element from all their artworks are incorporated into the mural design. So that's how their elements are incorporated. So then we talk about, all right, well, this part of your idea, this element, this piece, and so it's a learning experience for them too, as this is like the sharing of ideas. Not everything will be included, but some of it will.
Yeah, it's like a compromise.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So it's a lifelong lesson.
Yeah.
How do we
Yeah.
compromise and collaborate and work together?
And still be artistic about it.
Exactly.
You know, right? And creative.
And with Corning Community College, because this year's mural, it's located at the Schuyler Hall Makerspace. It's a new makerspace that just opened up. So we're also connecting to the makerspace elements as well.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
We wanted to ask about that because the other 15 murals are down here in Corning, and the Gaffer District.
14.
14.
We have one up there already
Okay.
at the Digital Dome Theater. So this will be our
Awesome.
second mural up at Corning Community College.
Cool. See how I did that?
Yeah.
I set her up to get transit. By pretending not to know. No.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Alice, you mentioned your parents back, and when you were kind of learning all this stuff without realizing you were learning it, and you mentioned that they kind of weren't necessarily the type of people who would go to a museum. And I know a lot of people, myself included, in parts of my past, but, there's sometimes an intimidation factor with the preconception of a museum if you haven't been to one, that it's like, yeah, I'm probably not going to get it, so I don't know if I really, but I think the nice thing about the public art beyond the museum is people are engaging with it. It's not like they're going to a museum where they think it's going to be formal and they have to understand. They're just walking by and they're like, wow. And they get to actually engage with it and react to it. And maybe that opens up the museum, though, as an opportunity, too, because it's like, oh, if that, because art speaks to us emotionally, right?
I think, bringing the art outside of museum doors is something that I've always been interested in, thinking about how we can create art that is accessible to all and that kind of is, the museums cost money to get into. Mm-hmm. Not everybody wants to spend money to go into a museum. Of course, some museums are free, which is wonderful. But typically institutions tend to be, they're a little stodgy. You walk in and it's a little bit stiff. And not everybody feels comfortable in those spaces. I didn't as a kid, And so to be able to bring the artwork outside gives someone the experience of still looking at art without sort of entering a door that might feel very kind of timid to them. And the other thing is, if you don't like art, you don't have to look at the wall, right? You just kind of continue on your way, right? Yeah. But going into a museum, making time throughout the day to actually walk into an institution is a different experience than just walking by a piece of art. And I've always been interested in art on the streets because I grew up in New York City, and that's all we had was graffiti was everywhere. And some people might consider graffiti, an illegal form of vandalism. I think that's a form of expression, and it is a sign of the times, and it does express our youth, especially the youth that their voices aren't being heard. And so murals are sort of kind of like, the next stage of that. Like, how do we organize a collective group of people and make art on the walls that beautifies our neighborhood without gentrifying our neighborhoods, right? With still keeping. And I feel like, institutions and museums should really take note of what the Rockwell is doing. And I'm not saying that because I'm sitting here right now with Amy, because I'm extremely honest about stuff like this. The programming that they're doing, these programs are typically open source. Museum educators and institutions want to learn from other institutions to make programs effective and engaging, because that's how they get more money to do more of them. So, again, I feel like there should be like this conference that all museums go to and they exchange notes and learn from one another, because the Rockwell is really doing it right. They're really doing it right. They're including something from their collection. They are engaging the youth. They are engaging local community businesses. So it's like multiple people are putting their hands in the pot. And it's not just that they're saying that they're doing it, but they're actually doing it. So I think that, for me, I want to work with more of these kind of institutions, because it's not just surface, it's really going into it and making an impact sort of from the inside and focusing on the process. It's more work to focus on the process than it is the product.
Right. I will definitely agree with that. And thank you. That's just so kind, such kind words.
And it's because, you're really looking at things that people don't see, right? The product is just what you see, but the process is the whole thing to get you to that point. And when we have 10 or 15 students that walk away and they can tell you the process from the beginning to the end, then we're planting a seed for our next generation to go and do it on their own without me there. And that's the goal.
Yeah.
We want to kind of create that. Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
Setting it up generationally, how is this work going to continue? So it is really about building these relationships, these deep relationships. It's about a conversation and going in and taking what you hear and then responding to that. So it's all about responding to each other. And I'll also share that, recently the Rockwell, we developed some resources for community or for, they're actually on our website, so anyone can access them, but they're just basic resources. How do I paint a mural? So a lot of them are specific to our community, but what is the cost? What types of paint do I use? How do I prepare a wall? How do I protect it? Because we usually do an anti-graffiti clear coat on it. How do I find an artist? So there's different networks where you can go on and seek out professional artists who are doing work nationwide. So we are we value collaborating and providing resources to other organizations and artists, because we want people to continue and to be empowered to create their own public works of art.
Well, and I would say, like, with the public art, it's really that reach that you get, like the people that don't go to museum stuff, but you might, just with that public piece of art, you might inspire the next generation, the children walking past and everything. And I think it's a good growth opportunity for the arts in general that many don't get exposed to unless they see something.
Also, I'll share we have a scavenger hunt. So we offer a scavenger hunt of all the murals. So people can pick up a scavenger hunt, and there's like a little thumbnail. So it really gets people out and looking at them. And then when you come to the mural, we also have plaques up at each one with QR codes. So then they might be like, this is, spearheaded by the Rockwell Museum. And then you can learn more about the artist, and we list the student designers. So we do try to tie it back to the Rockwell, make people feel more comfortable to maybe walk in our doors. So that is sort of, part of the goal too, but also that reach to community.
Yeah, definitely.
That's awesome. One of the things we usually finish talking about was my passion is to bring groovy back. And you mentioned the 80s, right? And the hip hop and all that stuff, which is certainly where, that was part of an element to that. And I think what you're doing is doing that, and inspiring the youth. And not just the youth, though. I mean, this is as the community itself, right? So this is for everyone. It's not like it's just for one person. And I think that's, very commendable. So appreciate both of
very
you
groovy.
being here, and it is
Thank
groovy.
you.
Yeah, it's super
Yes,
groovy.
I think it's groovy. We got Gen Z working on the
right.
mural, so
Yeah.
of course it's groovy.
That's right. So, well, we'll just thank you again for being here today, and
Thank
we
you.
appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
So everybody out there, just stay groovy.
Super groovy.